thank you for joining us for Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. Well, here we are nearing the end of 2020, but if you remember, we had an election in June of this year, and it seems like forever ago. However, this month we get to meet our newest Sioux Falls City Councilor, Alex Jensen, who was elected at large. Welcome to Inside Town Hall, and thanks for joining us. And congratulations on your new position with the City of Sioux Falls.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Madeline. I appreciate it. It's been a whirlwind, I'll tell you that much is true.
Yeah, sure. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I actually grew up here in Sioux Falls, got educated here. I went to Lincoln High School and then went to University Center, graduating through the University of South Dakota for college. Then started my career here in banking, then did real estate for about 5 years, and now I'm a business banker over at First Premier Bank here in town.
Tell us a little bit about why you would like to be a public servant. Why did you run for city council?
Yeah, so I think it kind of started maybe a year or two ago. We just had our first kid, my wife Nikki, and my son Jack. We were just kind of in that process. Nikki was still pregnant, and there's an opportunity that came about, and I asked Nikki about, hey, I think I could actually add some value from a budgetary standpoint. I was on the appropriations committee in Pierre when I served in the legislature in 2014 and 15. So I have that background that will help our city staff and our departments really look at how they're spending each and every single dollar and how effective they are in doing that. And Nikki and I talked about it, talked with my family, my colleagues at work, and they said it's a great time to do it. No one was in the race at the time, and we ran. And we put our positive message out there, our proven message, on how we can improve the budgetary process, how we can uniquely put different programs in place that will protect our city assets and also our budget. So that's kind of the background on that.
Well, tell me a little bit about, people are always kind of intimidated about running for public office. Obviously, you held a position already in the South Dakota legislature. What is it that, that you hope to learn more about as you move forward in this position?
Yeah, so the legislature compared to the city council are two very, very different things in my opinion. There are some similarities, but what I found is actually being an elected official, working part-time, just like you do in the legislature, but being in the community that you're helping fix roads, you're making decisions that are impacting people's lives every single day. You see these people every single day. So it's very close to where the laws are happening. But what I've learned is the learning doesn't stop during the first year. I think during these 4 years, I will be learning every single day from our city staff to the citizens because, like for an example, today, right before this program, I was out looking at a conditional use permit. They have something going on, so I have to learn and be a jack of all trades and bring that to the council and educate the council on why that conditional use permit might be a good idea. So you really have to be an expert on a lot of different things and try and make the best decision for the citizens of Sioux Falls.
So it's kind of like a grassroots effort. You get in and you learn about different aspects and how it affects people's lives.
Absolutely. I mean, grassroots is exactly what it is because you are talking to people every single day. It doesn't matter who it is, from the widower who needs help with snow removal to the business executive that is bringing in the next big company, like an Amazon, like some company like that. You talk to everyone and you treat them all with respect, and each one of them has a unique problem and it's unique to them, but it's still a problem. So we have to try and find solutions to help all of those different individuals and do it in an effective and an efficient manner.
Sure. And just quickly, what are some of your priorities over the next 4 years? What do you want to really sink your teeth into?
So when I ran on making this place the safest place to raise a family and to have a job and to have a great quality of life. And I think those different aspects are important to everyone. They want to have a family, and it might look very different from family to family to family. It might have a different definition, but all of those families need jobs so we can put food on the table, so we can make certain that we have an ability to have a quality of life. And that means having the best park system in the region. It means having a great bike trail system. It means having great roads so I can get to my job. It means having the best and the brightest people want to move here because we're exciting. We're excited to be here. We are all working together to make this place, united. It's a one Sioux Falls model, as the mayor would say.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much for serving the citizens of Sioux Falls, and I'm sure you'll be back on the program. Everybody gets their rotation, everybody gets a turn. So thank you and congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You bet, and thank you for being here. When we come back, we're going to learn more about innovation and technology in the city of Sioux Falls. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, this is Dr. Darnell from Falls Community Health, here today to discuss carbon monoxide and its dangers. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, tasteless, and odorless gas emitted from multiple sources in our homes, including gas and oil-burning furnaces, portable generators, and vehicles. To protect yourself and loved ones, get yearly furnace inspections, do not use generators inside your home or garage, and never leave your car running in the garage. Carbon monoxide detectors are available and should be installed in all the bedrooms of your home and checked frequently. For more information on carbon monoxide, visit cdc.gov or ask your physician for more information.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall, where we are visiting with our newest city councilor, Alex Jensen, and his guest for this segment is Mike Grigsby, the director of the Department of Innovation and Technology for the city of Sioux Falls. Welcome, Mike. Tell us, and you're new to Sioux Falls, so tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from.
Certainly, I am. Crazy story. This Sioux Falls is not new to me. This is actually my wife's hometown, so I'm very, very familiar with the city. I'm just new to the city. So we moved here in April from Kansas City. I spent the last 16 years there in Kansas City. But Sioux Falls is just a wonderful community to. I've watched it over the years, watched it grow, certainly over the last 7, maybe even 10 years, watched the upward trajectory. Sioux Falls has so many great things going on. I am really pleased and privileged to be here.
Okay, well, great. Well, and welcome to the city. You come right at a pandemic,
True.
But you know what? We're happy that you're here. Councilor Jensen, tell me a little bit about this department. Why is it important to have Mr. Grigsby here?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical, as we're two of the new people, one, me on the council, and he, the Director of Innovation and Technology, is we need to be innovative in everything that we do in city government. We need to be looking for new technologies, looking for a lot of different things to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of city government. So that's why I think it's a perfect opportunity to get Director Grigsby introduced to the community and then hear what he has planned, because I've had meetings with him, and every time I've walked out, I felt like I am the dumbest person in the room, which is great because we have a true leader in Mike here. So I want him to kind of explain what his goals and priorities are as a director and where he sees the city going, because I think we have a really good future ahead of ourselves.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about, you started here. What did you see as to how our operations were, and what do you look forward to improving?
I'll rewind just a little bit and talk about the 2 years prior to coming to Sioux Falls. So I worked for a global organization and had impact with cities all over the world to build smart cities. And when we think about smart cities, people immediately want to put a technology layer on top of that. And really what a smart, I'll even go so far as to call it an intelligent city, is a city that functions and is firing on all pistons. right? It's working from the business community to the technology to city administration to citizen engagement to economic development. Everything is just firing on all cylinders. That's what a smart city is. Technology becomes an augmentation of what we're already doing, not a replacement of what we're doing. And I think that's a crucial fact, because people, especially when you throw out words like innovation, people think about these massive projects that technology is here, and we're thinking drones and facial recognition and all these kinds of things. Innovation happens in some of the most mundane areas. And one of the things that I've actually asked my team to do is start thinking smaller, right? We can think big, it's easy to think big, but to start thinking smaller, where are the voids, where are the spaces where we can carve out more and where we can optimize more to gain those efficiencies, to gain that effectiveness. Then once we get a foundation laid, once we get the infrastructure in place, then we can start talking about the bigger pictures and the bigger projects. And those are sure to come. The way technology is moving, the way the industry is moving, those projects are sure to come. But there is a kind of a sequence that has to be in place first. We got to get the groundwork laid. And part of that groundwork too is education awareness. I mentioned, you talk about innovation. People just don't know what that really means. They know that it means something cool, but they don't really know what that means. We know that here in Sioux Falls, a perfect example is we have 5G coming, and we've talked about this, we've publicized it. But if you polled, the average citizen polled them from the streets and asked them what does 5G mean for them, all they know is that something is going to be faster. But what does that really mean? How does that translate to a benefit? How does that translate to something more impactful for the city? And that's what my team is really going to be designed to do and try to help create, is this awareness and education, and really help communicate where Sioux Falls is going. And to your question about what did I see, I did my homework coming in here. Sioux Falls is probably, in fact, I said it just this morning, Sioux Falls is probably one of the most strongly positioned cities, certainly in North America, and in many respects, I would put it up against many cities around the globe from a readiness standpoint. The infrastructure that's already been laid, the foundation that's already been laid by previous administrations, this current administration, there is an appetite within Sioux Falls that is not only hey, let's get something done, but what else can we do, and where can we go from that? I really think that the opportunity for Sioux Falls is that we can build a model that other cities can point back to and say, how do we replicate this in our city? So I think there's an opportunity for us to gain an even greater profile than we already have.
Let's go back a little bit about what was your experience before. I see you were in the military and you've done law enforcement, and talk about those aspects and the aspect of your private and government sector positions.
Sure. I spent 11 years with the Kansas City Police Department. I was a police officer there, and then the last 4 years I served as the Chief Information Officer for the police department. I think one of the most interesting pieces about being in law enforcement was the connection that I had with the community, a direct connection. And unfortunately, the police get involved in people's lives in some of the most inopportune and some of the most just dreadful times in their lives. And seeing the way that the city worked and seeing how we could have impact and influence in people's lives, even if it's for just a moment in time, I think that's a tremendous opportunity. And it really did open up my eyes for what the city can be doing and what the city should be doing. And I don't mean just this city, it's any city. When we work, when we look at all of this, the innovation side of this, we have to think about from a human aspect. How is this actually affecting Joe or Jill Q citizen? That I really gained a lot from my time in the military and my time in the law enforcement, and really understanding what that means to provide somebody with a level of dignity and respect their humanity. And so that infuses everything that I do. I had an opportunity to work in private sector as well, and watching the speed at which private sector moves, they are really pushing the envelope all the time on innovation, and really trying to bring new things to bear, bring new things to people's attention. And I know government always gets this kind of gets a bad reputation about moving slowly, but that's because of due diligence. There are a lot of checks and balances that have to be put in place when the government moves forward, and you're dealing with people's lives at that level. So I know it can be a little bit inconvenient at times, but there is a methodology to that speed and that pace. And by and large, what I see now in Sioux Falls is a readiness to move forward, a readiness to look for those opportunities to find creative ways to bring to do procurement or to do financing or even some of these projects. How can we leverage the most out of the resources that we have?
Sure. You talked a little bit about thinking small. What are some of the things that you're looking at in terms that will affect everyday citizens?
One of the projects that we're launching right now is a task force called IDEA, and that stands for the Inclusion Digital Equity Alliance, and that is focused in on making sure that that all of our citizens have connectivity to broadband and have access to digital devices to interact with the city. And while that sounds like a very big initiative, it really focuses in on the day-to-day interactivity and the day-to-day engagement with city services. People ask, why should we worry about this, or why should the city be concerned about this? And the reality is it's twofold, or I should say it's manyfold. One of them is the city has to maintain different environments, an analog environment, if you will, paper-based or something legacy-based, because our citizens don't have access to the digital or more advanced services. Then we also have to have the digital side of that, maintain that, because we do have citizens that do have access to that, right? So maintaining dual environments and dual capabilities comes at a cost, and it's both a funding cost as well as a time cost as well as a personnel cost. So anything that we can do to gain efficiencies there is a tremendous plus. The other thing too is we talk about quality of life. So what does it really mean when our citizens have access to it? If you were to think about the internet only in terms of entertainment, you would have one view and one set of value for what the internet means to you. But if you think about the internet in terms of job opportunities, or in terms of education, or in terms of broadening your worldview, you assign a different level or a different set of values to that. And one of the things that I think it's really crucial for us to do is to communicate everything we do in terms of value. We ask our citizens and we ask our employees to do a lot of different things, and not often enough do we communicate the value behind what we're asking them to do that. And so change is always difficult, but if you know the value behind it, change, at least you have an incentive to move forward on it, and you understand the why behind it.
Sure. From the aspect of the city council, when he's talking about, things go at a little bit slower pace, and, you have to answer to the taxpayers and how they're funded, all these projects are funded. How do you see this new department, new area moving, and what do you guys see as probably some of the most basic things that need to be looked at first?
Yeah, so I think you hit on one of my priorities, and we'll talk about that as we continue to go on, but quality of life. Absolutely, that's one of the things that we need Director Grigsby to be all about, is how do we improve that quality of life? How do we improve our infrastructure? All of the infrastructure that the city of Sioux Falls has, how do we become innovative in looking at that? Jobs, how do we become so innovative that we can show that Director Grigsby is accountable for bringing X amount of jobs to Sioux Falls? I mean, if we can accomplish those things, and Director Grigsby is accomplishing these items, we're going to be better off. Now you even look at roads. How can we make our roads better? How can we make our street systems go from more artificial intelligence? How can we make that a part of the game? And I think those are some of the things that Director Grigsby is looking at. One of the questions that I asked him, and I think he probably has an answer. The mayor has the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals. What's one of your BHAGs as we kind of you kind of set the stage and set the foundation with these small things that you're doing that are really important things, and there's many of them to do. But what's your visionary goal?
There are so many, but I think one of the ones that I look at for Sioux Falls is transportation and transit, right? The commute and what does that mean? We can think about public transportation, but then there's also, you have personally owned vehicles, you have commercial trucking, you have commercial operations. There are a lot of people consuming time on our roads, and what does that look like? We think about changing out our corridors to, kind of eventually welcoming autonomous vehicles. Electric vehicles are right around the corner. What does that look like, and what is the system? What is the system that has to be in place to accommodate that? You think about the autonomous vehicles being able to go through intersections, maybe not even having to stop because the timing is such that then it anticipates what the cross traffic is. I mean, these are systems that are being tested out right now, and the challenge is, we fast forward far enough into the future, is what does that mean for combustion engines? What does that mean for our personally owned vehicles? The state of California here just recently announced that after 2035, they're going to prohibit the sale of combustion engines. That's a sign of the times. Automobile manufacturers have committed to by 2025, they're only going to produce electric vehicles from that point forward. Again, it's a sign of the times, and if we know that that is coming, what are the things that we can do now, infrastructure-wise, to begin laying the laying the foundation and getting ourselves prepared for this? We know that advanced lighting is going to be there. We know that advanced signaling is going to be there. So these are all the things that are going. But from a BHAG, I can't wait for autonomous vehicles.
No, that sounds exciting. And it's interesting that you bring up the by 2025 the electric vehicles being produced by these major companies, and what that actually means for the city of Sioux Falls. Sure. You've got to be working with building services, because if you look at what's in a garage now, you're going to need a big, a big outlet in that garage and feed that back. So as we're continuing to grow our housing in Sioux Falls and being innovative in housing as well, I think it all is encompassing. So you're not just one department, but you're a department that is interwoven in every single one of our departments.
Yeah. I think I'd be remiss to also talk about what I'll just throw in quotes as the scary side of this. When we think about innovation, we get a far enough look out on the horizon that we can see what the future looks like, and we don't know how we're going to get there. So a little bit, it can cause a little bit of paralysis between now and then. Which foot do we put forward? But also, we begin to see kind of the decline or the obsolescence of certain industries or certain jobs. You think about it, if states are saying no more combustion engines, what does that do for all the gas stations that are on every corner? How do they either convert over to electric, or what does that look like for them? And I don't have an answer for them. And again, I know that becomes disruptive and can be tumultuous at times. But that doesn't define what progress should look like, or shouldn't impede progress, certainly. We know that, I've used this example in the past, is in the United States and certainly around the world, there used to be a job called a lamplighter. And this was a guy with a match on a stick who went around lighting gas lamps. That job doesn't exist anymore because technology has progressed, right? And we don't think about it in that respect, but I think it's really important for people now to begin thinking about how they want to reinvent themselves. I mean, the world, it's the opportunity is in front of them, and how do they want to reinvent themselves, and how do they want to take advantage of these new emergent opportunities? So it's exciting and can be scary at the same time, which I think is, I guess, by definition, what innovation is, right? Opportunistic and scary. So.
As you were talking about transportation in the city of Sioux Falls, I know that is a big issue that affects many, many people. And do you see yourself looking at transportation as a whole, like busing systems, and trying to expand that as well?
We do have to look at it holistically. Some of the things that we are going to begin brainstorming on is how do we create multi-mode transportation? Things like using Uber and Lyft as part of that, as an integrated part of that service. What do scooters look like? What do autonomous vehicles look like as all part of that? What do bicycles look like as part of as a mixed mode transit solution? I know people are challenged as they are. We're always trying to solve the last mile, first mile, last mile issue of getting people to a place where transportation is convenient for them. And that will be our goal: is how do we make it convenient, but how do we make it efficient, and how do we make it innovative, and how do we enhance their experience, right? It's one thing to just sit on a bus and go from point A to point B, but what can you accomplish while you're doing that? Mm-hmm. Could we invite universities to provide content while they're connected to our connected buses? Those are kinds of things that we need to really begin kind of just ideating on.
Sure. Well, great. Those are a lot of big ideas. I don't know what the BHAGs. I don't know. There's lots going on, and I think we will be having this discussion for many years in the future. So I'd like to thank both of you for being here for Inside Town Hall, and welcome to Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay. Well, that's our time. If you would like more information, and as winter is upon us, you need to check out for those snow removal and road closures. Check out all the information you need on siouxfalls.org. See you next month.